Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for another episode of Spanning the Need. Tonight, we'll be talking entertainment, and who to best talk about that is the president of JAC Management and the group running the Covelli Center in Youngstown, Ohio, and many other facilities, Eric Ryan. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Tony, thanks for having me.
I know your schedule has got to be very busy right now with everything going on, and I can only imagine, especially with events being moved, rescheduled, and just facilities in general.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of like it's been kind of calm the last 2 months, only because it's kind of the contrary, actually, because everybody's in a holding pattern. It was crazy when the pandemic first hit, certainly, in rescheduling and doing of those things, but now it's really sit around and wait, for the states to open up and hopefully get on with business at some point here.
Yeah. And I think, and I've known you for, I think it's been about 15, 16 years. Yeah. It's been a very long time with just a variety of different ways. And so not many people, let's take it back a little bit and kind of tell people how you got started in the business, because you've been at a variety of different facilities and you're actually from the region, Mahoning Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I started back in 1998-9 with a place called The Cellar in Struthers here, just a suburb of Youngstown. And I started doing shows, kind of just open up to do. It was just a club. I was started in a club business to do local and regional shows, and that went pretty well. And then I started a company called Eric Ryan Productions, and the idea of that was to do shows outside of the club, and so basically, that turned into then JAC Management Group when we took over the management of the Covelli Center, and now we have JAC Live. So it's been a process. I've been in it for over 20 years now, really.
Oh, and well, you're aging both of us.
No doubt.
I mean, you've played in my charity basketball game. You played when you were still young. You're only 29 right now.
That's right.
And you've come a long way. I remember when there was concerts, small, the Clarks, I think Red, Wanting Blue was another one. Just if my memory serves me correctly, going to those types, and then you used the Struthers Field House, which is phenomenal, and then you're taking over the Covelli Center where past management companies failed. So tell me a little bit about how that became, because the previous company that was not an agreement between the city of Youngstown, but then you stepped in. So kind of take us through that and what happened.
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of a long story, but I had worked at a mill for 13 years, for the first 13 years right after high school, called Wheatland Tube. And at the time, I already told you about The Cellar, and we were getting things going, and we had Southbridge Billiards and some other things. And then we started Eric Ryan Productions, where we were doing shows outside of the club. And so in 2007, the president of our company came and said, "We're laying 30% of you off in management." And I had said, that day I got off of midnights, and I told my wife, I'm taking the buyout. I'm getting out after 13 years, which looking back now, it was absolutely crazy, because I had a really good job, and all these other things were secondary. So I did it with the intent that I would grow my promoting company. And so, about 5.5 months later, I got a phone call. I picked it up, and it was the mayor of the city of Youngstown, Jay Williams, and I'll forever be grateful. He asked me to come meet with him, and I went there, and we met. And I had done a couple shows at the arena, and he said that they were getting rid of the management company that was there and wanted to know if we would be interested in managing the facility on a temporary basis while they search for a major management company. So we said we would do that. and went in there and was supposed to be there. We signed a three-month agreement, and that was 13 years ago. So and it was a process to turn the place around. It was losing a bunch of money, and entertainment facilities really across the country are tough to get to make money. So we're certainly proud of what we've done. And it's been a long process, but it was a long process to kind of get to that point. But really, it was kind of a leap of faith that I took back in 2007 when I left my full-time job and said I wanted to be in the entertainment industry.
Did you ever think that when you signed that 3-month agreement with the city that you were going to be there for the next 13, 14 years?
It's funny. I didn't think that when I signed the agreement. I thought we would be there for 3 months or maybe 6 months, because I knew it would take some time to go for the other management companies to come in and to do their thing. But I tell you, after about 2 weeks, Tony, I really felt like we could make a big difference and make a splash. And I knew the community. Right. I mean, so we're from here. Mm-hmm. We knew what people wanted to see, and that obviously helped very much. And I've always been a risk taker, so I was not afraid to roll the dice in some shows that a lot of people, if I had $1 for every time somebody said that won't work in Youngstown, I'd be a rich guy. But things do work in Youngstown, and we've certainly, proud of that. We feel we've proved that over the years.
And I think it shows where you can get the big stars, the Elton Johns, the Carrie Underwoods, that will come to these small facilities to sell out in 25 minutes.
Right.
And I think that's what's been great success that many people may not know.
Right. Yeah. And I think success breeds success in this business. We were lucky that we picked some right shows from the very beginning. So, sold out in a hurry. And at the end of the day, tickets sell tickets anywhere in the country. That's one of the things I always believe. You got to get to a certain amount of ticket sales. And then once it kind of penetrates the market and people are like, hey, are you going? That type of thing. So certainly the success of the shows early on have helped us through, but still, we probably get 15 to 20% of the shows that we actually offer. A lot of people come up to me and say, why haven't you done this? Or why don't you do that? It's like, well, I think that's a good idea too. Most of the time, right? I mean, if you're going to see somebody in 18,000 seater, well, there's a reason why they're not playing 6,000 seats, So it's all part of the business.
Yeah, and I think people can show an appreciation, at least where you're from in the Youngstown, Mahoning Valley area, where they don't have to go to the Cleveland or Pittsburgh market, where they can spend their money here. They can pay just a tad more for a ticket because you don't have to drive that hour. You don't have to rent transportation. You can buy dinner locally. You don't have to go to those big type of restaurants and really make it and really actually get a great concert out of it.
Yeah, I think that's been the selling point. All those things you've hit on. That hey, you're 20 minutes from home. It's funny. There are certain shows where our out of town guests will be much bigger and ticket buyers will be much bigger. For instance, if Y Live at YSU, those type artists, Blake Sheltons and Zach Browns of this world and Florida Georgia Lines, and then obviously Elton Johns and whatever. But I always have prided ourselves that this community buys tickets. It buys tickets, and I think this community understands good entertainment, and really. Sometimes I wish they didn't. I wish they would just buy tickets and other things. They're sort of picky in a sense, but if it's a good show, we've had overwhelming support. And yeah, you're right. I mean, the restaurants and all of those things, you're in and out. It's only 6,000 seats, and there's not a bad seat in the house. All those things, I think, help us.
Well, and I think that comes kind of the next point as we talk about, events that sell. We've talked about just people buy tickets. Now you come to the pandemic and you have all these shows scheduled. How have you been handling those difficult decisions in the last 3 months? And what has kind of been, how have you been handling the stress? Because I know when you're bringing in a big act, that's a lot of money. And people don't realize this, where these artists can range from $750 to $1 million just for their fee alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want you to ask my wife that question. That's for certain. Yeah, it's been a very stressful time, honestly. Because there's nothing you can do about it. This pandemic has hit everybody, has affected everybody. So I'm not crying, woe is me. But certainly in the mass gathering business and in the entertainment business, the most difficult part recently, early on, it was like, okay, you're doing rescheduling, you're pushing things back, you're moving, okay, how long is this going to last? Because nobody really knew. And now we still don't know when it's going to be over, and we still don't know when we can reschedule. So we really need to be able to. Sorry, this is somebody with a motorcycle.
Yeah, so is someone picking you up?
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's my neighbor. It's been a very, very stressful time, and we've rescheduled and rescheduled to reschedule. And like I said earlier, now it's like, it's everybody's just kind of pulling the reins back and saying, no sense in going through this rigmarole. Let's wait until we have a time when we can finally reopen. Now we're hearing we can open the amphitheater. It's looking like we're going to be able to do so within the next couple weeks, which will be nice, and go from there. But the real struggle with most of us in this industry is that we wish we had a date. We wish we had even a tentative date that could move back. Then we could go, because the amount of planning it takes to do. You've done events. Mm-hmm. You've done lots of them. So, the amount of planning it takes to do these events, let alone scheduling and routing and, then getting it and selling tickets and marketing of it. So hopefully we'll get out of this, but it's certainly, I'd be lying if I haven't said it hasn't been very stressful for those of us in the entertainment industry.
Well, and you see a lot of concerts and tours that have been canceled, from Rascal Flatts to Luke Bryant, who canceled most of his tour. And I know he was looking at moving or starting his tour back in August or September, which now has been moved back another 3 months. Mm-hmm. So, and if that person's been scheduling, that's got to be crazy, because you're trying to route everything.
Yeah. It's not just about your date, but and then the other thing is that's really throws a wrinkle is you have some states being aggressive and opening back up. Well, we run an amphitheater in Texas, and we're working very hard to get that up, because they're being very aggressive. Now, I don't know whether that'll last or not. Hopefully it does, but the problem is you just can't. Well, Texas is probably a bad example, because you could really tour Texas for 30 dates, and it's so
yeah.
But you've got to be able to get from one place to the other. Typically, you don't play within 150, 200 miles from each other, and especially on the level of shows that we're doing, you're playing 400, 300, and 400 miles away. Because the amount of money it takes to do these artists, you put radius clause on. So this state is being pretty aggressive and opening. That state is not, and those type things makes it very difficult, because you can't route something. And so it's really, it's really a quagmire that we're in until we open back up as a country, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Well, and I know that. And let's talk a little bit about that. You're just not in Youngstown anymore, or Warren, or in Ohio. You are now at, I think, another 3 or 4 either facilities or amphitheaters across the country. Talk a little bit about how you've expanded. I mean, this is something that started here, and now you're branched out to all these other places. So you have a very challenging time right now to figure out, okay, what state can go, what state can't. So talk a little bit about that other than your stress level.
Yeah. So yeah, there's two sides of our company. So JAC management is actually named after my kids. So that's the management side. So we manage 4 facilities now. We manage the Covelli Center. We manage Youngstown Foundation Amphitheater. We manage Packard Music Hall in Warren, and we manage the Spellman Amphitheater in Forney, Texas, just right outside of Dallas. So we took over Forney, Texas on January 1st, and it's a 4,000 seat community amphitheater that we have. We just announced our first show, which is Trace Adkins, and we had a bunch of shows confirmed, ready to go, and unfortunately, this all came down. And then the other side is JAC Live. So JAC Live is formerly Eric Ryan Productions, but we wanted to be, Formity. And there we do about 25 to 30 concerts, basically mostly throughout the Midwest, but throughout the country. I mean, we've done them in Vegas, we've done them, all over the country. But we just opened a corporate office in downtown Youngstown for JAC Live, and really was just getting cranking when this came down, and we believe we can grow, smartly. Probably double those amount of shows was our plan, was to double that amount of shows. We did 26 some odd shows outside the market, Florida, West Virginia, really all over. And we were planning on doing about 50 this year. That's turned into, we're lucky to do 5, honestly. So yeah, we've had nice steady growth. Luckily, this is a very, very risky business that we're in. So we want to be careful, but we've had nice growth. We're running 4 facilities now on the management side and on the concert promotion side. Hopefully in 2021, we'll be talking about doing 50, 60 shows outside the Youngstown market and really, throughout the country.
Well, and I think that brings us a great start to kind of what I wanted to hit on was, okay, pandemic's coming to an end. You got all these states opening up. Okay. What does the entertainment industry look like if you can only have a certain amount of people at a concert or even an event? How does that look in major markets, and how are you going to prepare for that?
Well, I think that's a great question. I mean, we certainly have a plan for social distancing. We certainly have a plan for cleanliness. We certainly have a plan for all of those things. What's the hardest thing to have a plan on is that what do the major concerts look like? I mean, some of the events that you could do with reduced capacity, I mean, this is all about numbers, right? So if you're paying an artist X and X amount of dollars, you then decide, that's the trick of this business. You have to decide what you can get for ticket prices and what you can pay the artist and what all your other expenses on marketing and stage hands and production and all the other things that go along in this business. So really we're waiting to see. Most things in 20 are pushing to 21. Our Luke Bryan date at Youngstown State University, which was going to be on June 13th, has now moved to May 30th of 2021. And most of his dates are moving to 2020. Most people are picking up what they had in 20 and moving it to 2021. So, but what's going to be interesting is that how does it look at a reduced capacity? And I know that's what you're asking. I don't think anybody has those answers yet, because you certainly can't pay the same amount of money. You can only get so much money out of the ticket. If I think the value to go see such and such a band is $52 or $55, and all of a sudden I put the tickets at $100, the consumer is going to say, you know what, I'm not going to go. It's too expensive. Now there might be some artists you're willing to pay $100 for, but if you take your capacity, some of these talks are 50% capacity. and 40%. Those numbers don't work in the major concert industry. Now, you might see some artists going out there and playing for less money to make those things work. But that all remains to be seen. And I think everybody's still in a holding pattern right now because, by and large, mass gatherings, sports and major sports that we really thought, in my opinion, major sports was going to lead this train. And now they're announcing baseball's coming back, but I believe with no fans. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. I think I read an article or just talked to some people that they were going to have a 60-game season, no fans.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, they're doing an overhaul of the whole entire season. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works.
Right. And no fans doesn't work for the concert industry or the live event industry. It may work, it works for baseball because they get, they have $1 trillion base or TV package, but that doesn't work in the concert industry. Now, I mean, there's some neat things going on with like drive-in concerts, and we're looking into that. Again, the issue is just economics. What makes it all work? So, I'm hoping that by 2021, when 2021 comes around, we'll be, things could be mostly back to normal. But I guess to answer your question as it relates to, how it looks post-COVID or during COVID, it looks a lot different. And, some things will certainly have to change in the industry in order to be able to do the bigger stuff that normally requires a sellout, especially with us at the arena. That requires it to sell out. We do a lot of shows where we have to sell it out to make it work. So,
well, and I think it kind of brings that point of is if you want to bring in these big acts and they're still charging the high pricing for their fees, those ticket prices will almost double if you can't put people in the stands.
Right. And I don't know that the artists are going to want to do that. I don't think we've quite got there yet. I mean, you don't really see everything rescheduling for 20 to 21. And, I'm sure that some of those deals will change. But we'll see how. I mean, it's going to take a collaborative effort between the artists, the managers, the agencies, the promoters, and the venues are all going to have to really work together to try and figure this out of what works best for the consumer. Because at the end of the day, you need the fans. I mean, you need people to buy tickets. And if you don't have that, you're not going to be in business very long. So, I'm confident that'll happen. But it's just a matter of time of how long it takes to get there.
Well, I've already had some comments in the section below saying, I'll give Ralph a pointer. He goes, "I need my music. Goodness, I'm bored without it."
Yeah. Well, I think music has a way to heal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think that brings, like, for example, Garth Brooks made the announcement that he's doing 300 drive-ins. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, that I don't think that's the same as being live in a facility. Either it's the first row or the last row with the best entertainer you want and you love.
Yeah. Well, Garth but he's playing and it's gonna simulcast.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
Garth is not going to be at the typical drive-in.
No,
that's great. I think that's like the gentleman said, he needs music. So, I mean, that's the best we can do right now. And I think it's cool. It's not going to be the same as going to a live show.
Oh, no.
Covelli Center for sure.
No, or anywhere. I mean,
right.
At least at outdoor amphitheaters, you can social distance in some capacity.
Right.
And what's the capacity of the Youngstown Amphitheater?
It's about 5,500.
Mm-hmm.
So based upon, what they say, like we're hearing 6 square foot per person. which would basically be a 3x3 area. Then the next person would have a 3x3 area. You know, our capacity would be down to about 1,600 people. But waiting to see what percentages they come back with.
Oh, and I think you're right, Eric. And I think we're looking forward to music and getting back and just enjoying life, but at a social distancing, I should say.
Yeah.
So, well, we've talked a little bit about pretty much everything in the industry. Any new acts that, well, look at it this way. Hey, you just can say, hey, I was ready to pen all the big names until the pandemic hit.
That's right.
I mean, Aerosmith.
That. Yeah. Yeah. I had Bruce Springsteen coming, Billy Joel. I had, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, you had
Jay-Z.
Yeah. Wow. You had Keanu West coming. You had them all coming. I mean, till the pandemic happened, and just the deal fell away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you interested in a little Q&A from some fans?
Sure.
So I'll go with this one. This one is this gentleman's name's Eric too.
Okay.
His question is, and I'll pop it up on the screen. It says, if there was one act you would love to book, which one would it be?
Great question. People think I'm a country guy. I was a rock guy. Like,
oh yeah,
the country. You know, I don't know why, because it sells out and people love it and they support it like crazy. I'd probably, only because the region of where we're in, it'd probably be Bruce Springsteen would be. We try and every year I drive for Y Live. Billy Joel would just be, because I was kind of raised on Billy Joel. Would be really great. The Foo Fighters would be cool. A Drake show would be cool. Because I really love all genres of music. But if I had to pick one, it would be, I couldn't pick between Billy Joel or Bruce Springsteen. But one of those two would be kind of my retirement swan song, which I have no intention of retiring. I mean, but I would, that would be, but I used to say that about Zach Brown too. And look, we got Zach Brown. So
yeah, Zach Brown was a great concert at Y Live. I mean, we had 15. Wait, was that the 15th? I can't remember. Is that the 15,000 or the 17,000?
That was about 17,000 people.
Right.
And then we turned around, and that was the first year on 6 week notice.
Yeah.
So then the next year we had Florida Georgia Line that did, over 20,000 sold out, and then Blake Shelton last year 20,000. And our Luke Bryan show was selling incredible. We went on sale when the pandemic was just coming out. A lot of people don't realize that. So
yeah, I remember that. I remember I had to wait in Ticketmaster and get my tickets, and I remember because I think you guys made the announcement. And then a couple weeks later, it opened up. And then about 3 weeks in, everything started closing.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, yeah. So we made the announcement. We didn't go on sale for 2 weeks. And we went on sale on that Friday. And it was really the following Wednesday when stuff started to close. So it was amazing how many people, put their trust in us to, and bought their tickets even during this pandemic.
You know what they say. You only need one good time out of a couple.
That's right.
Okay, let's get another question here. This one is from Marty. So Marty says, what does Eric feel the best act that he was able to book in Youngstown?
Well, it's hard to not say Elton John, because Elton John was a game changer. Elton John was sold out in 5 minutes. So it was really probably Elton John. Carrie Underwood was really good. Kid Rock was awesome. Brad Paisley was awesome. We've had so many. Kiss was really good. Def Leppard show was really good, but the very first show, I mean, the biggest one would be Elton John. That was by far the one that really put us on the map.
Yeah, and I know you, and I think people don't realize this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Elton John came 3 times or twice?
Twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think everyone went or tried to go to the first show. It was just because I know Ticketmaster, you just got to wait. Was fortunate enough to get a couple tickets.
Yeah.
And they, it was just, he went on for 3 hours and just by himself. And I don't think people do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it was interesting. You talk about Ticketmaster and when it went on sale. So we're able to see, like, you know, if you have 6,000, that show, we had 7,000 tickets to sell. Cause you remember he played in the 360 and, so you had 7,000 tickets and right at 10 o'clock, the demand was like 40,000 tickets, like 40,000 people were logging on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We had a maximum of 4 tickets you could buy. So with that being said, you know, that many people logging on, think about how many, you know, so if 1,000 people get in, that's 4,000 tickets. And, you know, I remember I almost wanted to move because we're like, oh, it's fixed. It's this, it's that. It's like, no, like, you know, if you have 6,000 widgets to sell and you sell out of them, they're gone. Like, I can't sell you a seat that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So that was, the demand was amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's if I'm correct, I remember hearing something that Elton John, as he got older, liked the more intimate crowds. Is that a true statement?
I don't know as he got older, but I know that he, you know, there was a time where he would play some smaller places. Now he's back on his farewell tour playing all huge facilities, you know. But he certainly rant and raved about the acoustics and loved Youngstown. And, you know, you were there. I mean, the electricity was, you know, you don't get that everywhere. You really do not get that everywhere. It was such a big show and such a big thing, you know. The Kelly Pavlik fight too, when he defended was an amazing event to have. I know it's not a concert, but it was as big as it gets.
Where do you have that type of crowd for that, where the first time he was in, I think, New Jersey, and then the next bout was in Youngstown?
Right. And it was pay-per-view. And, you know, if you remember, we opened the doors at like 6 and the first fight was like 7:30 and like everybody came. It was crazy. And the fight didn't happen till 11:30 at night. So, you know, they almost drank us out of the state.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that was a really good.
Well, and I actually remember driving from Washington, D.C. that day after a conference, trying to get there. I got there just as, I think, the first or second fight, right before Kelly was supposed to go on. So, because right through the door, there's no one in line because everyone's already in there.
Yeah, it was truly an amazing night. And then he won. It was something I'll never forget. That's certain.
Yeah, that was a great night for Youngstown and everything. So we'll have a couple more questions. This one's from Lauren. No, not my wife.
Okay.
She asked, do you feel that you will continue to have other big concerts like Blake Shelton during the year?
During, what do you mean?
Well, I'm assuming that since you brought Blake Shelton, the bigger concerts, to do more of those.
Yeah, I think we'll certainly be able to do it. If she's asking this year,
I think just probably in general because of what we've talked about, that there's pretty much not going to be that type of concert here this year.
Correct. Yeah, this year is going to be tough, but certainly I think we'll go back to normal at some point here. You know, either they find a vaccine or, we get herd immunity, whatever. But yeah, I certainly listen. This shall pass. You know, there's a lot of people that rely and make a living off of this industry. You know, I mean, a lot of people outside of, everywhere throughout the country. So, it's not like you're going to never watch a football game with 80,000 people in the stands. It's just probably not going to happen this year. But we really, I fully expect it to rebound at some point. We just got to be patient and let this pass.
Yeah, and that's a great thing is like, I know that as you continue to do what you do, you will be able to bring those acts in at least maybe 3 to 5 times a year, depending on what
Correct.
their open dates are and everything like that. It just takes time
Correct.
and effort.
Correct. I think the one thing is that this will give some opportunity to smaller markets like us to do bigger shows because the saturation is going to be, you had the people who weren't going out this year and you had the people who were going out this year on tour. Now you move them to 2021, the people were going out, and the people that weren't going out, they got to make money. They got to pay the bills. So I think 2021 and 22, you're just going to, the entertainment, knock on wood, I think the entertainment's going to be off the charts. And in markets like ourselves, I think are going to be there for the taking.
Yeah, I think it will, and I think you got a great point. So two more questions, and one said Lionel Richie was awesome.
Really, really was awesome, and a great guy. I had an opportunity to meet him, and we had him twice now. He was really, really good, and it was that was an amazing concert, and an even better guy. But I thought that. I thought he really brought it, because the first time we did him, that was part of the Southwoods. If you remember, that was part of the Southwoods anniversary party. So it was a one-off. And when you do a one-off, you sometimes you worry that it's not the full tour. They're not on tour. And, we brought out all the bells and whistles and we sourced everything that they wanted. And he came out and put on a tour show. It was a Vegas show. So I agree. He was fantastic. And then we had him again 2 years later, and we're going to have him again because, people love his music and he puts on a great show.
Well, and I think this pivots to the next question, and this will probably be the last question. What are the artists feeling about playing at YSU's venue after they play it and see it and hopefully they enjoy it?
That's an awesome question too. So, what I tell everybody about Y Live is that, if you stand on the front of the stage and you take a laser pointer up to the very top seat of that stadium, it is actually closer than the lawn is at Blossom because of the angle. So when you sit up on that stage and you stand up on that stage and you look up, it literally looks like they're on top of you. I mean, it's very unique because, we put the stage at the 50-yard line and we shoot straight up. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you put the stage in the end zone? Well, one, because the capacity wouldn't make, because we would lose an entire section or section and a half. But you cannot beat the 5,000 people on the floor and the 16,000 people in the stands. All the artists have said to me how much they absolutely love it. Blake Shelton last year, truly, when it was over, he's like, I'm going to hang this picture. He told me, I'm hanging this picture. I want this picture. I'm hanging it on my wall. Like, this was absolutely amazing. Florida Georgia Line actually said, this place was built for concerts, not for football, because it was a one-sided. Because most stadiums are 360, and we're two-sided. But the one side's obviously the home side and the big side.
Just don't tell that to Ron Strollo.
Yeah, So they loved it, and Zach Brown really started off. And Zach Brown, when you call somebody and you say, hey, we want you to play this stadium in Youngstown, Ohio, first thing they ask you if you've taken your temperature, if you have a fever, because you're crazy. But they took a chance on us. They took a chance on me, took a chance on JAC, they took a chance on Youngstown and Mahoning Valley, and to make that happen. And they loved it. So that really was a success story that we could tell and that we'll tell. And hopefully some, we'd love to turn it into a 2-day event sometime, but that's kind of down the road. And a lot of people always ask, well, is it always going to be country? No, it's not a country fest, but we're going to
sells.
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day,
we could get for what we can afford. So, but yeah, the artists love it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to bring back a story I was told, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because this is what I was told. I think it was either the Zach Brown or Florida Georgia line. They actually brought a bigger stage last minute to actually do a full concert tour from Chicago.
That was Zach Brown. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we had to source a bigger stage because they wanted to bring the full show. So it was the full show there. And then it was the first time doing it there. So we learned a lot, and then we were able to do that stage, and we've done that stage, a different stage, but a like stage, like size, every year. But yeah, we originally booked it to play on a smaller stage, and they would not. So I wasn't happy at the time.
But now you, at the end of the day, it turned everything happens for a reason.
Correct.
They brought the big stage, which turned into probably one of the best concerts at the time in Youngstown.
Yeah. No doubt. It was the biggest group that had assembled since JFK visited downtown Youngstown in 1964 or something. So,
and I still have a picture. I have a picture of that when he was speaking on right across the street from the Mahoning National Bank. That's the aging of not me, just the picture.
Yeah, got it.
So let's do one more question, and this one is probably I'm not going to put it up, but I'll ask it. When are you reopening Fatties?
I'd love to. I miss the greens, and I miss so much about it. But the answer to that is never.
I just thought we'd throw that in there because we all know Fatties is a past restaurant and really was a great thing and just for a thing. So, but
I actually I miss those days. I don't miss the restaurant stress, but I'd love somebody to open Fatties. I'll give them the recipes.
The old mom and pop type thing. So
yes, sir. Yes,
Eric, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Spanning the Need. Stay tuned tomorrow when we have the Mahoning County Commissioners and talking about how the county is handling the pandemic. So be safe and have a blessed day. Good night, everyone.